It's me, Unapologetically T, and today, like, me and my mom, which if you've been following me, you know that, like, I've told you, me and my mom are very close. However, I am learning different boundaries and different remolding our relationship. Our relationship can no longer be what it was. So just learning how to maintain a healthy relationship with my mother, so that it protects me and it protects her. And we have been doing a good job. We have been giving each other space, and that has been working out a lot better for us. But today we were basically talking, and it's kind of one of the reasons I don't like talking to my mom, because it always gets negative. But we were talking about the abuse that has happened in our family lineage. And one of the things my mom said was, like, that's why I didn't stay in my hometown. I left and I went to Richmond, because I was completely embarrassed and ashamed of a lot of things that happened within my family. And I was also hurt. And so she definitely moved away. And it's funny because family still follows her here. You can't run. But nah, she done ran off on y'all ass now. You know, nobody hardly go see her where she at now. She ain't got to worry about y'all. But she definitely, you know, I've heard these stories over and over again in my childhood, and in my adulthood. And it is stories about, you know, incest and abuse, and a lot of sexual abuse is in my family lineage. And I think I've talked about that in the video where I talked about my father touching me as a little girl, and how my mom didn't have the coping mechanisms to, you know, handle that situation properly. Like, we today talked about a story about one of my uncles, and how it was alleged that, I don't even say that it's alleged, because I believe that it happened. And I'm saying this like he was once my favorite uncle, and I'll always have love for him. He's a family member, but I felt like, tell the truth, shame the devil. I feel like, had, you know, and this was a story of incest, and I feel like had it stopped there, it might not would have continued to his children, and then now allegedly his grandchildren. So, and I don't want to say allegedly, because I believe it. Even though I haven't gotten these stories from the horse's mouth, I believe that they happen, because I do not believe that someone would be accused over and over and over again by different generations of the same type of abuse. But in particular, it was a story about one of my aunts, and like the family knew that like, if she had raised her kids during this time, they would have got taken away from her for child abuse and neglect, because of the way she treated them. It was horrid. I mean, horrible stories, horrid stories. And it's funny, because the ones that got treated the worst actually turned out to be better than the other ones that got put on the pedestal. It's funny how that works out. Like, how God, you know, gives his toughest battles to the people that actually can endure it, and then other people would be like, well, if I was in that situation, I would have done. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you would have did. But I will say this. A situation came up where one of my cousins said that my uncle had touched her, and not touched her, that he had sex with her and actually got her pregnant. And I do not feel like the family handled that, from what I know. I do not feel like the family handled that correctly. I felt like her mom, in everybody else's eyes, probably did the right thing. Like, she definitely, you know, took my uncle to court and tried to press charges and all that stuff. However, I think there's some missing pieces in that puzzle. I think she was trying to cover for her sons, and that's just my opinion. That's how I feel from what I've heard. This is not factual, but this is what I picked up from what I heard. If anybody else wants to correct me, we can have a conversation, you know, about it. But I felt like, you know, there was some some other abuse going on that her mom, you know, would have rathered that my uncle took the blame. Then I felt like my grandmother, she got involved because my uncle is her child, and I felt like, you know, she knew that it was other abuse going on in the household, and I felt like she felt like, you know, you're not just gonna pin it on my son when it's some other parties that's guilty too. And so she fought for my uncle. However, if we look at these two opposing views, who cared about the actual victim? No one really gave a fuck about my actual cousin and what that shit was doing to her. And that gave me a big taste of like how sexual abuse and incest plagued my maternal side of the family. So and that said uncle would continue to get accused of sexual abuse allegations and within his daughters, and like I said, it's even his grandchildren. So we don't, and it's some other cousins too, and I just don't feel like everybody is lying on him. I just feel like that's crazy. You got different generations who probably never even heard the original story saying that, you know, this has happened. I do feel like predators are strategic on who they pick. And I do feel like he picked people that he thought, you know, no one would probably believe or listen to. So yeah, we talked about that, and like that triggered the hell out of me, like, because, you know, my mom was looking at it, she was looking at these situations from a viewpoint of her being a teenage kid herself. Like, so she's not an adult, but she's watching this stuff unfold. So this is molded how she views sexual assault and sexual abuse. And like I said, she did not have the tools in her toolbox to advocate and protect me. So, you know, like, she watched this funny dance of how things was handled, and I'm pretty sure there was so many other stories. I have an aunt who said she was abused by one of my other aunt's boyfriends, in which whether she wanted it or didn't want it, she definitely was raped because of the age difference. Like, he was a grown-ass man and she was a little girl. So definitely was raped, and you know, her family shunned her and looked at her like she hadn't been taken advantage of or raped. And so I definitely feel like my family has this like insane coping mechanism with sexual abuse, incest, rape, period. Like, it's just this big responsibility on the women. And it's like, it's almost like, what could you have done to stop this from happening to you? And it's like, sometimes I don't know, it pisses me off, because why are we teaching women to be so cautious? And I think we should, like, however, like, both sexes should be told do's and don'ts when it comes to sexual abuse. Like, we're teaching our women and our girls to fight off predators and to know that this is a no-no zone. Why aren't we teaching our boys, you know, that, you know, consent is important? Age differences is important, because some of them aren't even being taught that. Like, there was a rule back in the day, if you was over 100 pounds, you were good to fucking go. And we're not in the old days anymore, because even I had this like crazy, you know, thing about age differences, because I liked older men, and like I now know, like, I was wired wrong, probably didn't like older men. But I had this like crazy like idea, like, oh well, my grandma, she got married when she was about like 14 or something, and my grandfather was like a grown-ass man. Like, he really was. Like, this is documented paperwork. But those were different times. You were also called like an old maiden if you were 18 and not married. Like, so those were different times. So I'm learning now, like, it's just some deep rooted ways, not only in my family, but this society, period. Like, this society has so much pressure on women to protect them fucking selves from men. And some of these predators are women too, so let me not go there, because I've heard so many stories from men who do not even realize they were sexually abused because they were men and they were taught that that's what the fuck they were supposed to do. I mean, they were little boys, but they were taught that that's what they were supposed to do and that's what they were supposed to like, and because it felt good, they didn't even realize they had been taken advantage of. Like, I know my stepdad, the babysitter slept with him. She was too goddamn old. Dante, he had sex with a 16-year-old. He was like 10 or 11. Like, and that was his first time. Like, but if we reverse these ages, like, we would thought that was a fucking, like, offensible crime. Throw away the key, lock that person up forever. So a lot of them, like, you know, are being sexually abused too. Like, we just don't see our boys as being sexually abused, and they are, and it's women doing it, and they're doing it, you know, in the schools. Like, they're starting to show light on women who are doing this shit in the schools, and they need to show light on babysitters too, because y'all some pervs, some of y'all, not all of y'all. But yeah, like, it's happening to us, and we're not being, because you're teaching your boys that this is good to go, you're not even protecting them. And then you're not protecting the women, because once they're getting exposed to this sexual activity, like, they're passing this shit on like it's candy to other women, and they're becoming, it's stimulating hypersexuality in our community, like, amongst all of us. Like, because either you're gonna have a shutdown response from this, or you're gonna have like a hypersexual activity from this. Like, and I've been in both situations, like, where I just don't, nah, I'm good. And then I've been in situations where it was like, well, fuck it, and I'm just gonna do it feel good. And I felt like we have to do better. We can't just keep doing these double standards, like, where we're teaching one group one thing and the other group the other thing. We can't keep having these family secrets. Had our family secrets been leaked early on, we could have protected his kids and his grandkids, because everybody would have been aware of who the fuck he was and what he was up to. But by it being swept underneath the rug and kept hush hush, you know, shit happened. And I just feel bad for, you know, I feel bad for us that, like, that shit was passed on through our family lineage. I always will say, I feel like this shit has a lot to do with slavery, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it again. We were bred like cattle. We were bred like cattle, and we were taught to be hypersexual individuals. We were bred like cattle strategically, just like how you breed dogs and you breed cattle. Like, if you know, like, if you are a dog breeder or an animal breeder, and period, you know about pedigrees and trying to procure, you know, a great pedigree. And that's what they did to us. Like, they wanted to have the strongest worker. They wanted to have, like, good slaves. So what they would do is make the slaves who seemed like they were the best slave, and they would make them over and over again. It was like a fucking factory of breeding. And I think that those things definitely passes down in generations and lineages, and that causes a lot of fucked up shit to happen. And then I think that we also, now that has happened, we also have to take responsibility as a family and as people, and be like, you know what, enough is enough. Like, let's air out the dirty laundry. Let's stop, you know, protecting creepy Uncle Joe. Let's stop doing that shit. Let's stop doing it. Because if you let creepy Uncle Joe get his punishment for the first offense, and then let's just say they do release him, and he's out here and he's, you know, with family or around, everybody know his ass creepy Uncle Joe, and everybody know how to fucking treat him. Or everybody got the choice to be like, I don't fuck with creepy Uncle Joe, I ain't fucking with him, and that's that. Like, we sweep too many things under the rug and try to keep things hush-hush because of shame and embarrassment. Shame and embarrassment is going to eat our ass alive. It is going to cause so many repeated cycles over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I literally had a conversation with my mom today. Like, I got pissed off. I got activated. And, of course, you know why. If you've been following me, you know why I felt that way. I don't have much background on my father's family. However, I do know that my father was a fucking dog. My father got his own cousin pregnant. So, yes, I have sister cousins. And it was no mistake on how this fucking came about. Like, they were at a family reunion. So they knew they were family. It was no fucking mistake. And we always got told on my dad's side of the family, make sure you check out who your family was. And I used to chuckle, even as a little girl, because I used to feel like, well, he met her at the family reunion. He knew, like, and I had enough sense to know that. But that side of the family did always used to be like, you know, make sure that they're not tied to from this area, because I think a lot of incest happen in that area too. And so it just it's a sad thing, but it's a common thing, but families cover it up. I'm hoping that me talking about my shit, you know, helps somebody else. It doesn't make me feel embarrassed or shame. Like, I can't control who did what before I came along. All I could do is make sure I don't do the shit myself. And I teach my child not to do that stuff. So I think that's the whole point. So I make sure that I tell my daughter these stories. You might not feel like they're age appropriate. However, I feel like she's getting older. She's 13. She'll be dating in a few years. Like, I want her to know, you know, like, that was the whole point of me wanting her to know who her fucking brother was. Cause I was like, what the fuck if she, you know, got older and she run across her brother and she don't even know that's her fucking brother. Like, that would be insane. And I don't know how many kids my dad really officially has out here, so I be trying to make sure I'm careful about shit. But I definitely had these conversations with my kid. Family secrets ain't family secrets for us. Like, I don't believe in it. Like, if you about to shame or embarrass me for some shit, I'm pretty sure you can dig somewhere in your family lineage and find out, you know, there was some fucked upness going on in yours too. And if you can't, good for you. You deserve a cookie. No, you don't. But I definitely feel like we gotta stop with the secrets. Family secrets, no more. Stop telling people they're wrong because they airing out the family business. You're not wrong. Air that family business out, because it ain't gonna stop until you do air it out. It's gonna continue to repeat itself and repeat itself and repeat itself. And no, that creepy uncle I just talked about, he ain't the only creepy uncle in the family. There's a lot of other creepy uncles in the family, but because people didn't talk about it, they didn't get any light shed on them. But there's some motherfuckers out there that's creepy too. And in my family, I ain't talking about anybody else's, but I'm talking about my maternal side. There's some other uncles that's questionable. And it was just some other situations, like, period, like, within the family about, like, sex and sexual abuse and who to believe. And usually the victims are not believed. And young girls in the family were being told that, you know, it was kind of like their fault. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are we doing this? It's never the child's fault. I don't give a fuck if that child's 16. That is never the child's fault. That child might have knew that that's what they might have wanted because of, like, feelings and stuff like that. But that child do not know the consequences or the full-fledged, you know, decision that they're making. Like, that's why you can't consent at a certain age. And that's why you can't consent at a certain age, you know, with someone older than 3 years of you. So I definitely feel like let's stop shaming victims and let's start shaming the actual, like, real culprits. Whether they're male or female, you know, predators come in all shapes and forms. I think women get to hide more because they're women. So I was looking at this statistic about domestic violence, and it was like, you know, domestic violence happening to women at such a large rate. And I beg to differ. I think statistically, you know, the data is skewed because men are less likely to report it. Men are less likely to report rape. But it has happened to them, and it has had the same psychological damage or worse on them that it does on us as women. Because guess what, they're not reporting it, so I mean they're not talking about it to people, and they're dealing with it alone. So I don't know, that conversation with my mom just brought up, like, you know, I'm tired of family secrets being family secrets. Fuck family secrets. And you know, fuck shame and guilt and embarrassment and all that stuff. Like, no, nope. You can't guilt me or shame me or embarrass me because what the fuck was happening in my family or what the fuck was done to me. You can't do it because I had to deal with it. I had to, you know, come up in it. Like, you can't do it. God will judge me. He know my heart. So I hope when I tell these stories, it is helping someone else free themselves from the same shackles that I was bound to. Because we're definitely, you know, we're chained up by a lot of different things in life, and we just don't have to be anymore. And start telling on these people. And if you don't feel safe to tell a family member, tell somebody that is outside of your family that you know you can trust, that you know will advocate for you. These people need to be told on. It shouldn't get to the point where they get to affect generations, like after generation after generation. Like, if you've been sexually abused, assaulted, whatever, you know what it feels like to be violated. Like, you know that shit is a tough burden to carry. You carry the guilt, you carry the shame, you carry the pain, you carry that somebody has took something from you that you feel like you can't get back. But I mean, I'm here to tell you, like, you can get it back. Like, I felt like my innocence was sold before I could remember. Like, and this shit ain't easy to talk about. I don't know if I'm making it easy to talk about, but it's not easy for me to talk about. Like, my innocence was stolen from me at such an early age. Like, it was stolen. And there were other parts of me that were stolen, and I'm like slowly getting those pieces to my puzzle back. And it's almost like somebody's stealing a piece of your soul. And I felt like if you know, you know. And if you don't know, I'm happy you don't know. And I hope that you never have to know. And that's the reason I'm making this video, is so that more people won't have to know. Like, because that right there, like, that was a big chunk of how I viewed myself, how I felt others viewed me. And it just was an internalized hate. Like, it was an internalized hate. And then by being with a family member, like, and then it continuing, like, it turned into different people. And then, like I told you, I've been honest. Like, when I was a child, I also passed on, you know, it was a gift that kept on giving. Like, I also passed on the behavior, and people passed on behaviors to me as a child. Like, and then as an adult, it kept happening. So I just say that, you know, I am praying for those who know sexual abuse and sexual assault. Like, I am praying for you. It is no easy walk in the park, but you can free yourself. You can free yourself. And I find, for me, what works is the more I talk about it and the more that I face myself alone with it, the stronger I become with it. These videos help, but I'm doing a lot of work by myself, with myself, and it's painful and it's excruciating. And you know, I'm crying alone, I am processing alone, and you know, I am showing up for me. And that's what I think was one of the hardest things. I felt like in life, I thought like a man was supposed to come save me, and that he would make it all better, and he would protect me from the monsters, because I call people monsters. I feel like I do not fear nature. Like, yes, nature brings us earthquakes, storms, you know, can kill us and all this stuff. I don't fear nature. I feel like nature is natural, and it is the natural order of things. However, what I do fear, or what I did fear, was man. And it's one of the things I used to tell my daughter is, don't be afraid of the dark or like the closet, because she used to have like this fearness of dark and the closet. And I'm probably the reason why too, because I used to tell her as the boogeyman will come get her if she ain't go to bed. But when she got older, I definitely tried to reverse that and let her know, like, you know, the only monsters you got to be afraid of is when you walk outside the house. And I've always kept that mentality, like, those are the true monsters out there, is the people who are unhealed and who are walking around with goddamn swords and knives and machetes, and they don't even realize it, right? They don't even realize that they're just bumping into people with all these different weapons that they don't even realize they possess. Some of them do realize what they possess, and they just out here, you know, wreaking havoc. And then there's some of them, they're just so unaware that they have these sharp edges and ways and energies, and they're just bumping into other people, and they're causing havoc in their lives. And so I always tell her, be careful for the real monsters. And me doing this inner work has allowed me not to be afraid of the real monsters, which are people. And I'm no longer afraid of people, because I feel like, you know, if you have malicious intent, just be sure that the hole you dig for me, you will fall in it. And it might be worse. So and you know, I definitely used to spare people when they would do stuff to me. Like, I have been vindictive, and then I've also learned to just allow y'all to fuck yourselves. Because I feel like I'm so protected by God, and I always say this, like, I feel like I'm protected on both realms. Like, I feel like I'm protected on both realms, and I feel like when you come for me, you come for yourself, because you're gonna end up having to deal with that. And you know, I feel like the more work I do, it's nothing to fear in man. My biggest critic and my biggest wounder after being wounded by people was myself. Like, it internalized into self-hate. So all those things that were done to me, like, I started to internalize that into self-hate. So even when I did meet healthy people and good people, like, I couldn't trust that you were good, because, you know, I'm still basing you off of other people and other things and other situations. And now it's just like I'm starting to get like those whatever color glasses, because I would call them rose, but I think sometimes it was rose, and then sometimes it was just some other shit. And then it's like now I just see things for what they are, and seeing myself for who I am, and I'm loving her more and more each day. Like, I even went out today, and I spent money on getting a self-love candle. It's not really a self-love candle. It was a candle like for if you have a love in your life. However, my intentions with the candle is to be a self-love candle. Like, my name will go on the candle, because I guess you could put you and your partner's name, but my name will solely go on that candle, and I would speak love and life into myself. And you know, so that was something that I went and did for myself today, was bought a candle, and that will help me be intentional about self-love for the next, I think that's probably like a 14-day candle. So for the next 2 weeks, I will be like definitely having on the self-love, positive affirmations. I was just speaking to that candle as I go throughout my days. Yeah, so I hope this video helps someone. Air out your dirty laundry. When you air out your own dirty laundry, it frees you from anybody else airing you out and making you feel fucked up about it. Like, own your shit, and own who you are, own your mistakes. It becomes less and less painful to, you know, view yourself the more you face yourself and the more that you live in your truth. So I am just wishing peace and love to everyone right now. I feel like we all need it. We're all going through some things. But yeah, just keep your head up and stop letting pervs be pervs secretly. Let's air them out. Bye, y'all. Talk to y'all another time.